Hello and welcome to Rock, Paper, Shotgun. Liam here, and I've just finished watching the Xbox/Bethesda Not E3 Summer Showcase, and I'm here to give you my top 10 highlights from the 90-minute presentation. The showcase was absolutely jam-packed with a ton of interesting stuff. However, if you didn't have time to watch it yourself and you're looking for a little bit of a recap alongside some reactions and analysis, then you're in the right place. Before we dive into my 10 highlights, however, let's have a little chat about the show in broader terms. I thought in general it was pretty good. There was a lot here to get excited about, some fun new reveals. However, there were no, massive water cooler moments, which is a bit of a shame, but does of course make sense. There are two reasons for this. The first is that Xbox themselves explicitly said that this year they were choosing to focus on games that are only launching within the next 12 months. I think this was a pretty clear response to the criticisms levied towards the company as a result of their presentation last year that was absolutely stuffed full of pre-rendered CGI teaser trailers for games that, well, were clearly years off. By focusing on games that are scheduled to launch before the end of 2023, you kind of lose a bit of that momentum. You can't talk about maybe some exciting new projects that you have given the green light to, but are quite far down the road in terms of development. So that means that we didn't see anything about the new Fable, Everwild, or Avowed, or even some of those magical, rumoured projects like Banjo-Kazooie or the Gears of War trilogy coming to PC, which I was really holding out for. Kinda gutted we didn't see that, if it even exists, but never mind. But I have to admit, even though we're not going to talk about any exciting 30-second CGI teaser trailers today, I actually do prefer it when a company just shows stuff that's coming out soon. I just think it's a much better way of marketing your content, and it just feels a little more earnest. I don't know, I just prefer it. However, we also do have to consider that 2022 is the year that we're really feeling the effects that the pandemic had on development studios. Obviously, in 2020, the games industry faced the same issues that every other industry did. That transitional period has pushed a lot of their projects a little further out, and 2022 is the year that we're really feeling those effects. So yeah, this was a little bit more muted compared to the grand Xbox E3 showcases of the past few years. However, there was a lot of stuff announced that I'm really excited to talk about. So these are my 10 highlights from Xbox/Bethesda's Not E3 Jeff Fest Summer Games Show, whatever, first week of June Game Dump. That's what these are, aren't they? Yeah, we need a better name for this than Not E3. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, and it was also the first thing shown during the showcase, was the gameplay reveal for Redfall. Now, Redfall is the new co-op Left 4 Dead-like first-person shooter by Arcane Austin, the developers of Dishonored, Deathloop, and Prey. I think Redfall looks really interesting. It was nice to get a proper look at some actual gameplay. Obviously, all we'd seen beforehand was just a pre-rendered CGI trailer of the game. I mean, immediately, it's very easy to make comparisons between this and things like Left 4 Dead or last year's Back 4 Blood. It is a 4-player co-op shooter where you fight waves of enemies, whether or not they be cultists or Nosferatu-looking vampires, which I really like. The enemy design in this game is quite goofy in a fun way. They wear lots of leather, and they float around, and their arms are really long. I don't know, I like it. Something about it really speaks to me. The gameplay demonstration focused on the interplay between you and other players, as well as your individual abilities, which are tied to specific characters. The variation between abilities is quite interesting. One character is a magic user, whereas another is more of an engineer and uses things like robots to fight the vampires. The first half of the gameplay demonstration showed a very generic-looking set of locations set within the town of Redfall. It didn't really look to me like an Arcane game. I always find that Arcane games have such beautiful environmental design, and it really felt like Redfall was lacking that magic that you see in things like Dishonored and Prey and obviously Deathloop. However, in the second half of the gameplay demonstration, it seemed like you go to more weird and wonderful locations where areas twisted into each other, or they became more fantastical and supernatural. The shooting also looks brilliant. I found that Deathloop, more than any other Arcane game, was good at pushing the player to go loud, to engage with its more action-orientated systems rather than its stealth systems. And although it does look like Redfall does contain the ability to go quiet and dispatch people without alerting your presence to other enemies, it seems to be more of a shooty bang game than Arcane have ever made before in the past, which I'm pretty excited about because the guns in Deathloop were really weighty, very snappy, very fun to use, and combat here looks very similar. So if the game is actively saying to you, yeah, shoot all those weird little vampires and all these cultists and have fun, buddy, I just think that's a really interesting direction for the team to finally explore. My thing with Arcane games, and please do tell me if you agree with this, is that they are capable of creating some of the most mechanically complex games within some of the most refined and imaginative worlds, but they never quite feel complete in a way that makes them appealing to a larger audience. So the fact that Arcane are making a co-op first-person shooter where you fight supernatural enemies, a genre that traditionally appeals to a wider audience, and it's coming to Game Pass on both Xbox and PC, maybe, and I've said this many times before about their games, but maybe Redfall is finally the game that gets the attention it deserves. I guess we'll see. I just think Arcane have an incredible pedigree, and I'm very excited to see what Redfall is like when it launches next year. Next, we had none other than Hideo Kojima pop in to say that he's making a new game with Xbox that will, quote, leverage the power of the cloud, and then he really went away, really. That was it. He kind of just popped up and said, hi, I'm making a game with Xbox. It's going to use the power of the cloud, whatever that means. We haven't heard Xbox talk about the power of the cloud since Crackdown 3, which didn't quite use the power of the cloud in the end, and then he was gone. So it's nice that Kojima is making another game, and it's nice that it's with Xbox and will presumably launch on Game Pass on day one, but that is all we know about it. This was rumoured for a while. It does also line up with a report that Kim Swift, who worked on the original Portal, is involved in this in some way because they were recently hired by Microsoft to head up this division, this cloud gaming division that's part of Xbox Game Studios. So yeah, Kojima is making a game for Xbox, and that's it. That was literally the announcement. Video games are wild. Next, we had a very delightful trailer for a game called Lightyear Frontier, which is a game about exploring a planet in a mech, and you build lovely little farmhouses, and you do a little bit of crafting, you do a little bit of resource gathering, you do a little bit of farming, space mech farming, and you can team up with a couple of pals, and it's launching into early access next spring. And honestly, yeah, there's 1,000 games like this already on PC, but there was just something about this that itched a part of my brain, and I was like, yeah, this looks really nice. A mech farming space game. I love stuff like this. So Lightyear Frontier, it's out next year. We got our first look at Forza Motorsport, which is just called Forza Motorsport. No number, no idea why. Now, I won't lie to you, I'm not a huge car guy, but Forza Motorsport does look very shiny. This is mainly because Forza Motorsport now has what the developers are referring to as on-track ray tracing. Last year's Forza Horizon 5 featured ray tracing only when you were looking at your cars in your garage. However, now your cars will be incredibly reflective as you're driving around the course as well, which is quite a significant change in terms of tech. The majority of this trailer, however, was dedicated to showcasing the dynamic time of day system, which makes tracks look absolutely gorgeous no matter what time you're taking your cars out for a spin. The trailer showed us one track at all times of day, and it looked absolutely stunning no matter where the sun was in the sky. I was a big fan of this funfair, which looked absolutely delightful. There have been huge improvements to the game's physics systems as well, and the developers were talking about a situation where if it's a really sunny day, it makes the track hotter, which affects how your cars will handle. It's very impressive stuff. No word on an official release date yet, but we can confidently say it's probably going to be out next year. Overwatch 2 is launching into early access as a free-to-play live service game on the 4th of October. Now, this was a bit of a surprise as we've just had the closed beta for the PvP mode, and when I played that, I thought it was probably a little while off, to be honest. I felt like that game needed a lot of balancing. There was also no word on the game's PvE mode, which I was kind of expecting to be the real selling point for Overwatch 2. So yeah, a bit strange. Still, what was shown here did look really good. We got a better look at some of the heroes' new skins. We got a look at a brand new tank hero, Junker Queen, who's an Australian Mad Max inspired character. She looks really cool. There'll be more info about the game on the 16th of June, and who knows, maybe we'll find out more about that PvE mode during that live stream. I was quite surprised to see Overwatch 2 make an appearance. I was even more surprised when Diablo 4 made an appearance later on in the show as well. As you may know, Microsoft are currently in the process of trying to buy Activision Blizzard for $69 billion, a company that has been accused of having a severely toxic workplace culture and is currently mired in a number of high-profile lawsuits and allegations. It felt like Microsoft wanted to highlight some games by Activision Blizzard without actively acknowledging that they're still trying to buy the company. It was a little bit strange that the acquisition wasn't mentioned, but the games were still here. Anyway, I remain cautiously optimistic about Overwatch 2 because I spent way too much of my life playing the original game, and part of me wants to spend a little bit more of my life playing this sequel. I think I just like Overwatch. It makes me feel nice. This next announcement was quite a big surprise. The Persona series is coming to both Xbox and PC. Persona 4 is finally making its way over to Xbox, but Persona 3 Portable and Persona 5 are also coming to PC. Persona 5 Royal launches on the 21st of October this year, and this is kind of a big deal because the Persona series has for a very long time been mainly associated with PlayStation systems. It's nice that Xbox have managed to secure these games to come to other platforms. Persona 5 especially is incredibly stylish, very fun, and there is just so much game to play there. You can easily spend 100 hours with that game before you're done with it. It's very, very fun. Very happy to see that making the jump to PC. Obsidian may not have brought anything for Avowed or The Outer Worlds 2, but they did announce a brand new game called Pentiment. Pentiment is a murder mystery game where you play as an artist in 16th century Bavaria, and it looks like it's a narrative-driven game where you have lots of lovely conversations and try to solve a couple of gruesome murders. Visually, it resembles tapestries and wood carvings from the era, and it just looks absolutely phenomenal. We don't know a huge amount about it just yet, but considering how good Obsidian are at creating really fun narratives, I think Pentiment is definitely one to watch. Out this year too. Another surprise announcement, Hollow Knight Silksong will be on Game Pass at launch. Now there's no word on a release date just yet, but it does look quite lovely. I mean, I don't want to sound reductive, but it's just more Hollow Knight, which is a really good thing, because Hollow Knight's amazing, and I can't wait to play more. It was a shock to see it show up at an Xbox conference more than anything, because everyone's just assumed that this would eventually show up at a Nintendo Direct, and the fact that it showed up here was a really nice surprise. I'd put money on this game launching next year, but Team Cherry are a small team. I'm in absolutely no rush to play this. I'm sure when it comes out, it's going to be brilliant. Ravenlok really caught my eye, so I really wanted to give it a mention here. It's the next game by Echo Generation developers Coco Cucumber, and it's like an Alice in Wonderland inspired action-adventure that looks absolutely gorgeous. It has this lo-fi design that mixes 3D graphics with chunky sprites. It's very colourful. Its enemy design was really cool. It was very creepy and sinister. I'm really into it, and it's out next year. And finally, the biggest reveal of the evening, we were given our first glimpse at Starfield, the next RPG by Bethesda Game Studios. It looks good. Okay, I'll start by saying that my excitement for this game was tempered somewhat by how clearly you can see the bones of a Bethesda game in this footage. What I mean by that is, if you squint, it looks a lot like Fallout 4. The way the characters talk, the way that you engage in combat, even just the way that your character walks around. This is very clearly a Bethesda game built upon those same foundations as all of the other Bethesda games that we've spent hundreds of hours playing. However, what I will say is that all the lovely new stuff they showed off does look pretty tempting. The settlement building stuff from Fallout 4 returns, but this time you can make cool outposts where you can research new equipment and hire staff to manage it while you're away. You can build your own ships and pull together your own crew before taking off into the great unknown to have dogfights with space pirates, and there are 100 systems containing over 1,000 planets for you to explore. This presentation was very nice. It showed us a lot of raw, unedited gameplay. There was no CGI pre-rendered stuff. This was all in-game, and it looked pretty solid. It looked like something you could pick up right now and play and enjoy. However, there was a lot unsaid, if I'm being honest. Like, can you freely explore planets like in No Man's Sky, or does each planet just have a set open world area? I assume you just fly towards a planet and then does it load in the planet's surface, or is it a seamless transition? These things feel important, I don't know why. Also, I thought combat looked very floaty and weightless, a bit like Fallout 4, but without the VAT system. It kind of loses a bit of that edge that makes Fallout so enjoyable to play. I think I'm only being a little bit down on Starfield because it was meant to launch this year, and this is our first glimpse at gameplay, and it felt like it needed to impress. It felt like it needed to have a serious impact, and it just didn't. It felt like exactly what I thought Starfield would look like, a Bethesda RPG, but set in space. And maybe it needed to present itself as something a little bit more than that. I don't know. None of this is a bad thing. I know this might sound like a complaint, but I'm still really curious about Starfield, and I think I just need to see a little bit more of it before I can form more of an opinion. Maybe it's just not for me, right? Maybe I've just played too many Bethesda RPGs. And the thing is, for someone, this will be their first Bethesda RPG, and nothing beats that first time you get seriously immersed into a Bethesda RPG, right? That experience is so magical, I almost worry it can't happen twice, so maybe that's just the problem. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic, and I can't wait to try it out for myself when it launches at some point next year. We still didn't get a firm release date. I imagine we will before the end of the year. So there we have it, my 10 highlights from the Xbox Bethesda Not E3 showcase. What were your favourite bits from the show, or what are you most excited to get your hands on? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back very soon with some more E3 coverage, but if you want to know anything else about everything that's been announced at Not E3 so far, go and check out the Rock Paper Shotgun website. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon.